All right, welcome back to Boggy Creek Life. Today we're kicking off the first installment of a brand new styrene build series. If you'd like a little history on these kits, you can check out my previous video on the BMW R75. Now, if you notice here, I've got two boxes sitting on the bench, and that's because I'm actually building both kits at the same time. The kit from the last video, the one that had a previous owner when I bought it and had it already started, I'm going to build it as the standalone European theater version, and you won't be seeing me build that. It'll be off camera, but we will put them together at the end. And so the unopened kit, the second one that I got, it's the one that we'll be doing in the series, and I'm going to complete it with the sidecar combination. And, so why a military motorcycle instead of another monster horror kit or a car? Well, it's honestly because I want to. It's a big scale. I love motorcycles, and I've been wanting to branch out into military models. And I think this is the perfect opportunity. So I hope you enjoy the series, and let's get cracking. All right, so first I laid out some tools that I know I'm going to use. Some plastic snips, toothpicks, some sanding sticks, some glue accelerator, different glues, and a little sanding machine thing here, and the directions to see what we will need to get out first of the box. First, we got off parts checklist there. I'm pretty sure I got all mine, but I'll double check it before I start. Let's see. First, we're going to start on the engine, so that is the chrome stuff. Let me go dig them out. Okay, so in real time, it has literally been like an hour and a half, 2 hours since I've grabbed this part piece because we've run into some unexpected challenges already. Now, this is fantastic, great looking kit, but this is definitely not a Tamiya kit. It has no paint reference for basically anything. I mean, it says like battery black, and that's it. And this is just not going to work for color. And also, as well, I love motorcycles. I said that, but I am not a motorcycle mechanic or a car mechanic. So I can't tell you, hey, what this piece is, what this piece is, what this little piece is. So I've been going back and forth between Google, ChatGPT, not only trying to figure out what these pieces are so I know what to remotely paint them, but I also grabbed some reference pictures to show you what we're going to shoot for here. Now, even though we're not making the motorcycle this color, this is what I'm going to use for an engine reference, but obviously not the what look like bright orange replacement cables on there. I'll be using black or something. The kit has its own cables, but they come in black rubber. And I'll probably dirty them up some. And this is probably this is the paint option that I'm going for. And I even noticed on the box lid it was camo. But when I do a lot of my Google search, all they show is just desert tan. And I didn't see any actual real motorcycles camouflaged, at least not desert ones. And so what I'm thinking is a motorcycle was smaller, and they probably didn't camouflage them that much because it would just get dirty quick. You wouldn't be able to tell anyway. And I think the box art did it just to dramatize. I'm not saying they didn't camouflage them at all. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying out of a bunch of reference pictures I saw, I didn't see any. So, okay, well, let's go ahead and get here what I know we're going to do. Because this is going to have to be like a paint as we go kind of thing. Because a lot of the parts are going to need painted. And, the reason I'm doing this is I don't want to rush through it and just slap it together and make a video. I want this model to be as accurate as I can reasonably make it. And, so if that means I got to slow down and do some research on the way, well, so be it. I mean, obviously you guys won't see that part, but I'm just letting you know. So, you know, it may be some length of time between episodes on this. But once I get rolling and get it figured out, I think it'll be a little easier. I have a feeling the engine's probably going to be the hardest part. I'm hoping. But ultimately, all in all, I think it'll be worth it in the end. All right, so let's go ahead and cut some of our pieces off. Never going to get nowhere if we don't start. Can't be intimidated. It's just makes you grateful for the kits that do have paint references. Trying to snip it as carefully as possible. And fortunately, on a motorcycle engine, they put the seams will be in the middle. So I don't think we're really going to have to do any seam work because you're not really going to be able to see those anyways. Always test fit. It's not the greatest. We've got nice big holes here, but we've just got little pissy ass nubs. So you can see this could create a problem because when you stick it on there, there's really nothing locking it together in place where it's supposed to be. Now, we could use my thin glue once we get it there and make it go down the seam. But I want it to dry a little faster than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get it to where I want it and then tack it from the inside. But this is not wanting to line up at all. Maybe we got to knock a little bit of these nubs off or something. Not much flashing. Trying to knock everything flat. Got a little bit of a thing going on there. This is 400, 180, 320, and 240. I got these from Andy's Hobby HQ or something like that. Good stuff. See, we can't really use this because it ain't got no lip hanging inside. Same thing with this, no lip sticking up to. So it may have a lot of parts, but it really wasn't over-engineered, it doesn't seem. Wow. Just doesn't want to sit. All right, we're going to take advantage of this. We're going to start in one spot that we can get close and then try to work our way around because this fits horrible. I'll tell you what, if it ain't one thing, it's another. I need to cut some of the tip off. I need to reorder some of these real skinny tubes they put. I've read people said they do this. It's never worked for me. I've never pulled out a drip that will come off of there. This stuff just ain't that thick. So I sprayed it off screen so I wouldn't spray it all over the table. Looks like we might be all right here. We'll go ahead and hit that from the inside. We'll a little glob on here. Use a toothpick for that. All right, let's see if we can work our way around from that. I mean, this could be from time, but I don't see why the pieces would be warped. They were packed nicely in the box. Unless, you know, just Bandai was a little worse back then. I mean, I know the technology was different. This right here is going to be a trouble area. I don't know if you can see there's a big gap there. That didn't even hold. Okay, let's try this. It has a hole. This is hollow. It goes down. So I tried putting it in place and filling it with the glue and then spraying the accelerator in there to see, hopefully, it maybe hold the whole thing together. But it seems to have maybe worked. To sand this down and prime it at least a little bit. All right, now off film, I'm going to go back and check every place and put glue where I can. So yeah, if you put this together back in the day and you just use some old applesauce kind of tester's model glue or something, my hat is off to you, because that would drive me insane. It has to be like adhered now and move on to the next part. I mean, I don't even see, this is hard enough with super glue. I can't imagine regular model glue. All right, now I'm going to drop some of this in there for good measure, because it's still got some gaps. All righty. That stuff dries pretty quick. Now, you notice on these pieces, there's no registration lip or whatever they call it. There's no lip to catch the inside edge and help it stay in one spot. Once again, it's old. So, you know, we're trying to do it the best that we can here. And just trying not to glue our fingers. Oh, maybe this would be good for that. Let's give her a whirl. We can get it in the right place first. Now I know what you're thinking, Cam. Be careful. Don't glue your tape to that. But I think if I can just hit it on the top and the bottom, remove the tape, I should be all right. I keep testing to make sure it's not hanging over one side or the other. All right, leave that dry for a second. Okay, so the thin glue wasn't working for this instance because there was too much pressure on the plate pulling back out, and I didn't feel like holding it forever. So what I did was I held it in, took some super glue on my Q-tip, my toothpick, and put a bunch of it down in there, sprayed the accelerator, and it seems like that end at the top pretty tight now. There's still a little bit of play in this end. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing down here. Hopefully I can get to that lip on the inside. I'm kind of hold it tight. Take our toothpick. Pray that we got some on it. I guess we'll know here in a second when we take our rubber band off to put the bottom plate on if it doesn't explode back out. Okay, let's slide over here to the bench zoom real quick so I can show you what's going on. We got it pretty tight. Everything's lined up fairly decent. But I went ahead and I can't say enough, test fit, test fit, test fit. Once again, no lip to catch the inside of this. So when I stick it on here, you can see it rocks a little bit. It doesn't set flat. Well, it doesn't look like it's this piece because this is machined flat. So I'm going to go ahead and take our 400 stick here. And it's got a little bit, maybe a smeared tad of flashing right there. And it might be the edges where I glued it. We're just going to put that on there as flat as we can. Run that back and forth. And honest, when you're gluing, it's probably not a bad idea to scrape some of this plating off anyway. I should have done it, but I didn't. Little lip right there. Let's see what we got. As you can see, much better. No wiggle, no waddle. Okay, so I'm thinking once again, maybe our thin glue might be the best situation for this because it doesn't seem to have any gaps that really require pressure to hold together. That looks a little better. And since this is like a, a model that I'm not familiar with, I'm double checking my piece to make sure it's the same on both ends all the way around, that it ain't supposed to be one end up to the front, one end to the back, or anything like that. This one here appears to be the same all the way around. All right, so we're going to try our tape and our thin glue here. Let me go ahead and set that up. Also, too, you can see I went ahead and sanded some of the coating off of this part so the glue bites into it. And that's another thing I learned, too, with these IPMS guys is, I supposedly this ain't nothing but like 1% off of the mixture of the airbrush cleaner, which I guess is cheaper. So some guys use that instead. And really, this is just like you can tell from the smell even. I think it's like a weaker version of fingernail polish remover, which is acetone or acetane or something like that. That's something. I don't know nothing, so I just use what it says it's supposed to be used for. But I'm learning. That's the important part. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, maybe on some other kits or whatever, this doesn't capillary fill to my expectations. On the plane I had, it's really hard to see it go in, I guess is what my issue is. And I'm half blind, so. Like right there. I just dripped a big old drip right down on the tape. But I mean, we're going to scuff this up anyway, so we got some. If it eats the glue off the tape and melts it to it, then we'll get it off. Hold that for a minute. I won't make you guys watch that. Okay, well, that seems to be holding fair enough. I'll hit the rest of it. I didn't like the, I had a little gap at the bottom of the front case that required some pressure. You could see it open when I moved it. So I wrapped the rubber band back around it to tighten it, and I'm going to try to drop the thin glue in there because the thin glue works if the pieces are touching, but it's not made to fill in gaps. It's made to melt the plastic together. I'm explaining this as if you're new and you don't know, as I always do. I think the people that know just watch me because they enjoy it. Maybe they like to watch me try to figure some stuff out when I don't know it. There we go. I saw that one take off and run. Alrighty, we'll let that set for a few. Okay, so I moved on to our battery box part here while we're letting that dry, because it's two halves as well. And a little nipple is what the cable's supposed to connect to. And then you got holes over here on this side, which are supposed to go right here where these two nipples are. Once again, you see no nipples, no connectors, no keys, no locks, no lip, nothing. So what I did was I put my sanding block down, or my file, as flat as I could on the table. I stuck it flat like this and went back and forth and sanded it until I couldn't really see none of that coating on the edges to try to make sure I got it all flat as I could. Test fit these together. All right, so it appears that it fits pretty decently. Kind of sucks that they got a seam and everything. I think this is supposed to be like a bolt on the top that holds like the basket shut around the battery, and it's got a seam in it even. I mean, there just ain't gonna be no getting away from that. This is one of those things that if you get mad easy, or if you ain't in it to win it, just don't even get an old kit like this, I guess, you know, because you're gonna have issues. It ain't some plug and play like we're used to today for beginners. Really not all that difficult, but you gotta have patience. That's the number one thing here that you're gonna have to have. If you ain't got patience, just pick you up a brand new tooled Tamiya kit or whatever, and or a new Bandai kit, and be happy. If you like a challenge, well, this is gonna be for you. So I'm gonna tape this together, and we're gonna go back to our thin glue again, and yeah, I'll show you guys when it's done. Okay, so it lined up fairly decent. And here's what I did, and I'll explain to you why. So I let my main concern of the lineup be the bolt on top, because I just showed you it was 2 halves. So I got that pretty good. The bottom is just a little off. I tried to straighten out as much as I could without messing up top. Point being, I can take my file after it dries, and I can hit all this and level it out so it's not that noticeable. I can't do that with this little bolt. It'll just tear it up. So I want this to be right, and the rest of it, I can adjust it to make it unnoticeable, passable, whatever you want to call it. So we'll go ahead and test fit this. Hopefully one thing at least fits right. All right, well, the little holes line up. It's a little wiggly, but we'll make it work. It's enough to super glue it. We're not doing that right now because we need to paint this first because it's black. And we need to paint this, but we still got more to go on this. Okay, so I built all the way up to step 2 here, which is most of the engine block. It still looks really shiny on camera, but it's sanded. You can see some of the spots better than others. Some of it I just couldn't reach. I tried to get rid of the seams as much as I could. Some of them won't be seen. And you see step 1, the battery box, but I'm doing it separate to make it a different color before I stick it on there. And this is just the first 2 steps, and this took me like 10 hours because, you know, like I showed you, there's no alignment pins. There's no little lip on the inside of other parts to lock them together to hold them while you got the glue waiting, you know. You've got to line this stuff up. This right here, this thin glue is a godsend in this situation. I mean, you can tack it with the super glue. I did that on a couple pieces here and there, but you got to go back around it with your thin glue. All right, so we got our Mr. Finishing Surfacer 1500 gray. We're going to mix some of this up real quick, and we're going to hit them pieces. Now, one thing I do like about this Mr. Surfacer and Mr. Color and all that, the Mr. Hobby brand, is that it pretty much mixes like lacquer. In my experience, pretty much 50-50 as far as thinning goes, as long as you use their products, you know. And to me, that's much simpler than regular acrylic primer because, you know, some of them are add this much water or add this much of their own thinner. And I don't know. This just works out more like car paint for me. So I think it's easier. So I've got my test board. Looks like it's spraying pretty good to me. Got the Galeri, however you pronounce it, swallowtail. I like the trigger. I'm not that great on dual action, regular kind of airbrush. So this works for me. I already blew this off and stuff already, but I'll hit it again real quick. Now you should probably want to do this with proper ventilation. Well, you can't really see down in there, but I couldn't get the seam there. Well, make sure you put your primer on wet, but you don't want to run it. Work your way around, give other parts a chance to flash. I'm gonna let that whole thing flash. Well, I go hit this battery box real quick. Now I tried just straight sanding the seams without puttying them. The seams would be on the side. It worked a little bit on that side. Maybe the primer will fill it in. This is a really small seam. Let that flash before we hit it with another coat. Back over here. You can see I still got a seam in that right there. Right on the top of that. But hopefully that'll be hidden. It's in the middle of the motorcycle. I mean, the whole... Okay, so we'll hit it up under here. I got some of these cool alligator clips that open out instead of in. They come in handy for stuff like this when you don't really have a place that you want to grab it from because everything's getting painted. Sometimes it gets a little rough when something's got 50 different sides and angles. Had a big gap down in there because of misfitment. That's also supposed to be like a separate part on the actual motorcycle, so I let it ride. Supposed to be, according to my research, which is not perfect by any means. We'll hit this battery box one more time. Alrighty. Okay, so our primer is looking good for the most part. Let that sit for about half an hour I did, and went and ate some dinner. Threw my extra primer in a jar. If you can get these empty jars off of Amazon or Lifesaver, or if you got baby food jars at home, whatever. Because we got more parts to primer down the street here in just a little bit. Go ahead and we'll look at our reference picture here real quick. So you see the main block or whatever is kind of like a darker metallic, kind of looking fine metallic. And so I'm going to use this XF56 metallic gray. It's kind of a little darker color. Now let me switch back here real quick. Got metallic in there. Hoping it'll be a little lighter when I spray it. Maybe not spray it so heavy. We'll see how it comes out. Mix this up and get it in the airbrush. Okay, and got X20A, which is the acrylic thinner for Tamiya. I mean, I'm pretty sure you could use the Mr. Color leveling thinner if you want, but I'm just going to use this because I already have it. And in my experience, same thing, around 50-50. I always end up making more because personally, I don't want to go back and have to mix some while I'm middle of painting. And plus, stuff usually takes a couple coats anyways. Shake this up real quick because it settles pretty fast. Plus, the stuff doesn't come with mixing balls. I buy these ball bearings off of Amazon, or they sell them under paint bottle balls or whatever you call them, but I just go with the ball bearings if they're cheaper. I just mix this up with the tube and our airbrush. Got my testing board out. All right, I think we'll be good there. Now, metallics, they can be a little tricky because you want it to be like a dusty wet. If you make it too wet, the metallic will pull up together and you'll be able to see it. But if you make it too dry, it'll be like texture. That's why you want to make sure that you let it flash nicely. This is coming out nice. I didn't want it too dark. I didn't want it too light either. I've heard some people actually, because they have such a wide array of colors, some people actually paint figures with Tamiya paint. Which, I mean, I can understand why. It's a nice paint. To me, I don't have anywhere near the spraying problems with the airbrush or, you know, clogging. This is just me personally. I know other people have got airbrush and acrylic down pat, but I don't have anywhere near the problems with it as I do acrylic. All right, we'll let that flash for a minute. And even though our battery box is going to have a steel strap around it, and the actual battery plastic that you see inside the strap is going to be black, I'm just going to blow this on it so it's got some paint to it, like a base coat to stick it to. Little underlying color. It's not going to hurt it. And honestly, that'd probably be good enough for that. That will finish out being hand brushed. Go back and make sure we got everything here. It's looking to me like it's pretty well covered. Alrighty. Okay, so I cleared the piece with Mr. Super Gloss Clear here. And the reason I made it gloss is for the purpose of the oil washing, is it'll move around better. And if it does end up somewhere that I don't like it, it's easier to take off. Plus, matte clear is more textured, and that's why it looks matte. Gloss clear is smooth. And then I can just spray my my AK Ultra Varnish over it when I'm done. You can use the clear of your preference. I think this is the flattest. However, it is not the most protective. It's a little soft. It's not the softest I've seen. The softest I've seen is a Vallejo matte varnish, but it's still not rock hard. So that's up to your own personal preference there. So we'll be putting that off to the side to dry. And I'm going to go ahead and cut out these cylinder heads, and then I'll come back and we'll show you the test fitting to see if they fit, and then I'll spare you the rest of putting it together because you've already seen the process for the rest of the parts, and it's pretty much the same way. Okay, so why make it any easier, right? Thought we might catch a little break, because if you open it up, you see this piece here, piece at the top here. Well, it looks like this piece would be able to rest in between those things in the bottom, and it looks like that protruding piece would maybe go over top of that peg, but I kind of thought this when I was looking at it already, because they didn't look like it. See, it goes together, but they're just not long enough, man. I don't know why. It's like they didn't put enough plastic in there to make it reach the other side. And you see, we're not going to be able to get rid of these seams here. I mean, I'll try to sand it a little bit without destroying the fins. Hopefully I can get this part down a little bit. I mean, it does have a piece that connects over here in the middle. You see down here, that'll cover up a little bit of it. Yeah, that's about it. All right, we'll see what I can do with it. We'll be back. All right, so I said I'd show you before I get to working on it. I pretty much just had to muscle it and use the thin glue. I had to compromise. If I wanted to get these fins lined up remotely with each other, well, then there's going to be a little lip here, maybe a little hang there. Same way. But I mean, I can sand those things down. Hopefully I can get this seam remotely vanished. Yeah, I really don't know what I'm going to be able to do about that seam, if anything at all. I mean, I'll try hitting it a little bit, because it does have a little bit of a lip on it. It had some little bit of flashing. I'll try knocking that back down. And I mean, I don't even know if anybody makes aftermarket parts for this, but worst case scenario is if I wanted to enter this in a kit show or something, they do have a category for out of the box where you don't add anything but what comes with the box. And then, something like this, it's like 50 years old. If you put that down in the description, they might show some mercy on you. Is it going to get best in show? No, I don't think so. But it may get something if I do enter it in anything, if I ever get it done. All right, I'll knock this out. We'll be back. Now, just to give you a little idea of what's going on off camera, I mean, this is literally taking me hours so far. At least a couple. I've been taking my Display sander. That's the smallest point it has. Trying to smooth that out as much as possible on the edges of the bottom of the head cover, whatever it's called. The fins, I've been taking a piece of sandpaper, I think it's 400, and just very lightly going back and forth. You can still see a little bit of silver there. That means I probably got to hit it a little more. And then that creates like burrs, so I had to open it up and go in between each one on both sides. You got to flip it because you can't fit it in there folded in half. Too wide. And literally do this to try to knock them burrs back down from going back and forth this way. So yeah, this is why it's taken so long for another video to come out, because I'd at least like to get the engine done in this episode. And yeah, as far as building two at the same time, hey, you know what? It was a good idea, but I think we're going to have to scratch that back for now, because this just ended up being way more time consuming than I thought it would be. I went ahead and primed these. This one came out relatively okay. You can see a little bit of a seam on the top here on that side. As far as the sides go, you can still see the seam inside, even though I took a piece of sanding paper, like I said, and stuck it down in there. It's not so bad on the outer edge of the fin. So after I paint this, I'm going to put wash down in these fins anyway, so hopefully that will cover that up. Now this one here, you can see that gap from there. This one came out unacceptable. And the side's not so bad. Same thing as the other one, but the top, I mean, that's where I gotta be money, because it has a little, if I can push this up, show you. It has a little cover thing here that like holds them on, but it only comes out like halfway on each one of these covers at the top. It only covers up like half, so the outside's gonna be seen. So I found this in my supply drawer. It's still soft. Hadn't been used in a few years, definitely at least. But after this dries, I'm gonna try smearing that over that, because that's just a bigger gap that I couldn't see it. It must have been filled with dust or something from sanding. So we're gonna head and let that dry for a minute, and then we'll put that putty on it, see what it looks like when we come back. All right, so this is what we got. I put some putty on them. Not all that good looking of putty, but I don't usually use a lot of putty, but I'll probably have to be using it more if I'm going to do cars and planes and stuff. So I'll probably do what other people say and invest in like something better, like green stuff or something like that. It's a little thick, but that's okay, because I am done for the day. So this will be drying overnight. Then I'll go back and sand it down, and we'll show you what it looks like. It's a water-based putty, Vallejo. What I really don't like about it is it's kind of sticky. I'm more used to with the figures working with Aves and clay, you know, stuff like that. And this was just this was not the situation for that kind of seam fix. So we'll see how this turns out. All right, so our putty's been sitting almost 24 hours. I'm gonna start with the 320 stick, knock down some of the thickness and the nubs off of it. Okay, so I knocked that down some with the stick. I wasn't gonna make you watch all that. And now I'm gonna take a piece of 400 here on our sander, try to smooth it out some. Still using a used piece because I don't, the stuff's still, the putty is not soft as in it's still wet. The putty is soft as in it's soft when it dries. I think that's because it's water based, maybe. All right, so this may take a minute. We'll be back. Okay, so this took us about 20 minutes to get down to one of them, but I'm liking the way that's looking. It looks like it filled that gap in and feels pretty good. Hopefully the lips will turn out okay. I'm not really worried about that little chunk in the middle because that thing has a bracket that comes out between them. So we'll go ahead and knock the other one out, and then we'll hit them with primer and see what they look like. First off, this thing is a champ. The battery didn't even go down. I mean, I stuck it on the charger once when I went to walk the dog, and it was done in 10 minutes by the time I got back, and it wasn't dead when I stuck it on there. And we're talking, this probably took to sand both of these an hour and something, you know, to knock it down because I put it on there thick. But I went ahead and shot primer on them. Now they look acceptable to me. I know the primer will shrink a little bit, but yeah, we'll let that dry for a minute and then go ahead and get our paint on there. All right, so we let them sit pretty much overnight. We're going to go ahead and spray them with our flat aluminum. All right, I think we're looking pretty good there. I'll go ahead and get the other one painted. We'll be back. Okay, so we went ahead and put some Mr. Clear on them so we can put our oils, washes, and stuff on there later, weathering. While that sits and dries, let's go back and paint some of our smaller parts. We're going to go back and start with the stuff in the first step so we can attach it to the engine block. Well, we already got this one part attached because I didn't want to have to mess with that after it was painted. All right, so what I'm going to do here is, you see our battery has got a bracket that goes around it that holds it on there to the motorcycle. So it keeps the bracket the dark metallic gray color, or the metallic gray. It's not dark. And I'm going to paint the battery, the actual battery box, black. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to hit it with panel liner so I don't have to try to get the brush up against the edge like that. I don't really want to mask it off either because that's just little. We'll see if this works. You see how it just capillaries around the edge. All right, so that gave us enough room, hopefully, that I don't have to be that perfect with the paintbrush. You see it give me a little edge to work with. And it's going to be weathered a little bit anyway, so. All right, we'll put that off, let that dry before we go back into it with the paintbrush. All right, so I free-handed that. Sorry, I didn't record it, but that's what it looks like. Going to hit it with some clear That way, go to weather it, doesn't mess it up. And then we can make a matte layer again. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got done here, what's going on, what's going to happen. So I got the engine block together, got this piece on black. Found out that I should have painted this piece black because it's some kind of electrical thing. I did get the battery box on and painted. And of course, you know, there's a lot more parts that need to go on this. Got this little pipe here on, painted to kind of go with the reference picture that I have. I got the headers painted. This part, which I'm not sure what it is exactly. I mean, I know where it goes on the motorcycle. And then once again, in these reference pictures, it's pointing one way, but in the reference pictures I found on the internet, it's kind of canted. So there's going to be test fitting involved. I started on the exhaust, putting the halves together, because everything, almost everything in this damn thing comes in halves. And yeah, I mean, that just makes it more time consuming. And also, can you see, like down here? So this is the muffler, this piece. This is just like an extension to the muffler that goes back to the header. But you have to get the angle right all by yourself. It's just got a little circle there molded into the plastic where it goes. So once again, it has to be kind of like test fitted and put on at the same time. And this is just very, very, very time consuming. And as a person that works full time with a smaller YouTube channel, you know, taking 2 to 3 weeks off between uploads can be detrimental. And so we're going to break this down into parts. I did want to get the whole engine done in one episode, but because I don't want to rush it, and this kit turned out to be quite a bit more than what I expected, we're going to have to call this one, put it on pause for the moment, and so we can move on to the next video and get back into our regular track, our regular schedule. And once again, I just think it's funny with the little zoom camera. You get to see this nice little area right here that looks everything. But this is what the whole thing really looks like. It's a mess. And I've even got stuff on the table over here on the side beside me. I've got to get all this cleaned up, but yet organized so I can pull it back out easily. All right, so with all that being said, pay no mind to my unmade bed back there, and I told you it was a mess over here. Yeah, I'm one of them people that drinks water and coffee and all that at the same time, but if you manage to hang around this long, well, then you're probably my kind of people. So if you would like to go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, it would be greatly appreciated. And we're going to get all this put away onto the side. We're not quitters. We're not quitting on this. And, you know, since I did do a review on this kit and said that it's a decent kit, that it is. It's still a decent kit. Your worst enemy when it comes to this is time, at least mine, because i.e. full-time job, only a couple hours a night. And those of you who build, a lot of you out there in the audience that do, I know, you know how hard it can be to accomplish anything when you only got like an hour and a half or two sitting to get something done in. And sometimes you just can't get it done. You know, you can't force putty to dry and all this and that. Not if you want it to look halfway decent and you know, not break apart. But if you're looking for any other way to help support the channel, there's memberships. You can check that out if you'd like. But there's also a super thanks, which is like a tip jar. It's like buying me a cup of coffee. And there's also a Patreon. And what we do there is once a month we get together on Zoom. I'm thinking about taking it to Discord. And we get together and have like a live bench session for an hour or so, talk about whatever we like. So I'm going to get this cleared off, start working on what we got next on the list, get back into cranking things out again, get a little more schedule, you know, like it used to be. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out until we see each other again. Be good to each other. Model on. Sit, Rocco, sit. Good dog. Roof.